Thank you for joining us today at Behind the Scenes at the Hanover Theater. This is Lisa Condit, and I am here with Adrien Finlay, the new Executive Director of Music Worcester. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
It is a pleasure. And, you know, we've never really had a chance to talk. I've heard lots of great things about you. Everybody seems to think you're fabulous, and the season's going better than ever, and Swan Lake is coming, so I'm glad we finally have an opportunity to talk.
Yes, thanks so much. I'm very excited. April 19th will be my first time working on a show at Hanover.
Which is great. But now you have a very impressive resume. I was looking you up, Adrien. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit?
Sure. It's a bit of a funny story and has taken me in many directions, as most of us in the arts have that story. But grew up in Rhode Island, native New Englander. Spent my life in Rhode Island until college. Did my undergrad at Harvard in music and French. A couple years abroad in there, one as a student, one teaching high school, actually.
Wow.
Then I was very lucky. I got placed at the test in high school, so I had very few discipline issues. Then came back to the U.S. for my master's, arts admin down at American. They have a great program down there. And the last 5.5 years, I was at a great regional orchestra just outside of D.C. in Alexandria. And that, before that, had some experiences with some opera companies, some chamber music festivals. During my summers in college especially, I was very fortunate to be on the New England Summer Festival circuit, working at a few places. So.
Nice.
Great experiences, and it's been fabulous. I can't say enough about everyone here in Worcester.
Well, we love having you here, and I have to say, what's impressive is every step along the way, you have great credentials, but there's got to be a story before you went off to Harvard.
Well, yes. If you must know, I grew up playing piano and clarinet and
See, it's the pianists. It's always the pianists.
I don't consider myself a professional musician, but I do still play for fun. That's one of the things, when I have a weekend alone, it's great just to sit down and refresh my, get the fingers back working. And it's something I enjoy immensely. And it only helps. I think it helps you relate to the professional musicians. And my view of what I do and what I think most of us do at cultural organizations is to make the best possible conditions for performers.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
So I always glom right onto the piano piece of it because my mother was a piano teacher, classical piano, studying to be a concert pianist before she eloped and married. And I know how much discipline it takes. We all know how much discipline it takes. But it's such a great foundation for later in life and a career in the arts. And I just like people to hear what really inspired you to follow this path.
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny, I can't necessarily explain it in full detail, but I knew very early on that music was it for me.
Right.
Some way, somehow, if it wasn't necessarily going to be on the concert stage, then how am I going to make this work?
And it's amazing. Music Worcester, one of the oldest music festivals in the country.
The oldest, founded way back 1858.
Very, very cool. And we're thrilled to have Swan Lake, which is on a Friday night, April 19th at 8 p.m. at the Hanover Theater. You can get more information online on our website, thehanovertheater.org. Obviously, musicworcester.org is a great place for more information as well. But we also have a really special program coming up in May, and we might have you back on later to talk more about that, but we should at least touch on it because it's one of Access Hanover Lyceum Series events where in general, we do a Lyceum series for our members for free, and sometimes we'll charge the public. This event, however, is a very special tribute to your predecessor.
My famous / legendary / so determined to make things work for Music Worcester, Stacia Hovnesian.
Absolutely. And what a woman she is, really. And so that program is dedicated to her, and you're going to be a big part of that.
Yes.
We're looking forward to working with you on that. Anything you want to tell people about Music Worcester in general?
Oh, sure. It's interesting because despite our number of years, a century and a half plus, going here, we do find that not everyone is as aware of us as they should be.
Right.
We are a significant presenter here in central Massachusetts. Mainly we are bringing in classical music, but we always steer towards jazz and world music. And we have the Worcester Chorus. That's another key element. The Worcester Chorus makes up about a quarter of our season every year, and they go back to our very founding as well, and they have the longest running Messiah going.
That's amazing. And it's right here in Worcester.
It's right here in Worcester.
So I have to play on that point again, because one of our phrases at the Hanover Theater is experience New Worcester, and you're certainly a part of that experience in New Worcester. So is the Woo Card. And we were talking a little bit earlier about, all right, so we do a lot of promotions together with the Woo Card. I'm sure that with Swan Lake, we might do some upper balcony, maybe some student packages.
Absolutely. I would say look to both websites for sure.
Absolutely. So nice to have you here. We're glad that you're here in Worcester. Together we're going to conquer the world. Hey, the Hanover Theater is already one of the top 50 theaters in the world.
And only, what, 6 years?
5, Adrien. 5-year anniversary coming up March 14th. And I can't wait to see the direction you take Music Worcester. Anything else you want to say about that?
Well, I can give a couple hints. Probably right around the time that Swan Lake occurs this year, on April 19th, we will be in a position to announce our next season. Ooh. And there'll be the usual mix, classical, chorus, dance. But I'm comfortable giving throwing a couple carrots out there to everyone. Oh. Opening night is going to be Orpheus Chamber Orchestra out of New York, fabulous, with the jazz pianist Brad Meldau.
Wow.
Bela Fleck is going to be in town in January with Brooklyn Ryder, a string quartet to back him up. Philippe Entremont, great conductor and pianist, will return. And a couple other surprises.
Well, I have to say, we absolutely love having the best quality ballets at the Hanover Theater. There is nothing like a historic theater like ours to see a fully staged ballet with the tutus and the point shoes and orchestration when possible.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And it's probably worth mentioning, too. I mean, I think everyone knows the name Swan Lake, but what's so incredible, as with all Tchaikovsky, it's just the most incredible of music.
It really is. It really is. So this is a return for Swan Lake.
It is, and it's a return of this company too. This Russian National Ballet Theater Company came out of the 80s. The turnover of Soviet Union into present-day Russia, and they really got on the international touring circuit then, and we're very fortunate to be on their radar when they tour every other year.
We are lucky. Anything that this particular ballet company is especially known for as far as their technique?
They certainly come from that tradition that you would expect, not just from their name, but also given their repertoire, the very classical repertoire. But they are one of the few companies in the world who actually have a full cadre of 50-plus dancers that make up the company. It is a very large company, which makes them fully equipped to come to the U.S. and tour and give us magnificent production. There's so many other things that are interesting about Swan Lake, and some things really set it apart. Amazingly, talking about dates, Swan Lake by Tchaikovsky did not get its premiere until 1877. It's just another thing to think about. Music Worcester was already up and running for over a decade, and Tchaikovsky hadn't even written what we are going to hear on April 19th. Just amazing. Like several of these folk stories that have come to us in the arts, the origins of the story. Well, Tchaikovsky didn't really use a story. He was taking from multiple sources to create Swan Lake. And there is a German folk story that's referenced, but then also the personal life, believe it or not, of a German king, Ludwig II.
Oh.
So, well, something to think about as you're looking at the story. And at its origins, this story of Swan Lake sounds like it could be any current TV show. There's mistaken identity, there's a paternal figure that's absent, there's a son being pushed to focus his life and, get on track. It doesn't necessarily have the happy ending, but it has its relevancy, as all things do.
Absolutely. So is there anything about King Ludwig's reign that comes out in this ballet? And I love the symbolism stuff, so.
Sure, there's I think it's the questionable paternal figure, and then also being torn between two loves. So as far as the characters go, you have your angelic dancer in white, and then you have the counterpart in black. and also, of course, it's worth mentioning. I'm sure many listeners saw the Natalie Portman film, and another modern reference point when you're sitting there on April 19th.
That's absolutely right. I love it, though. I really do. And, it's interesting because a lot of these classic ballets, you're right, they take old folk cocktails, and then they combine them in a new way, and then they set them to music, and then we've got the costumes.
Magnificent.
So anything about the costumes that you want to tell us really quickly? Because
I think both set and costumes should be a feast for the eyes.
oh, I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. Great. All right. Well, thank you again. I cannot wait to see this fully staged ballet in all of its glory. I know all of the dance studios from all around are also going to want to come. I know all of the dancers are going to want to come. So you should make sure that you get your tickets sooner instead of later, because this is a Friday night, April 19th at 8 p.m. Everybody's going to want to be there that loves dance, and we have built quite an audience of dance lovers here in Worcester.
We have. And I think it also, another thing for every listener who might be interested is, at the moment it's about 2/3 sold. So absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Get to thehanovertheater.org as soon as you can.
Absolutely. Or you can stop by our box office, 2 Southbridge Street. Anyway, again, it's been a pleasure having you. I cannot wait to see this on stage. I'm looking forward to the Legacy of Music Worcester on Sunday, May 19th to honor Stasia. I'm looking forward to lots more exciting ballets with you in years to come. And welcome to Worcester.
Thank you so much for having me.